Welcome to today's episode of Visit Sierra episode, where we share real life success stories of clients, individual clients who made life-changing relocation or moving to the new country from home country. And if you would like to relocate yourself to the UK, this episode is for you. My name is Muzaffar, I'm your host, and we have have a special guest who will share his success story on how we got him a visa. He got the skilled worker visa. His background is in banking and finance. He has applied from Qatar, and he moved to the UK with his family through our services. So I'd like to welcome Zubair, our special guest. So Zubair, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Muzaffar, for having me on this show of yours.
Fantastic. And maybe you can tell briefly about your background and share what motivated you to come to the UK. What actually was reasoning behind? What actually made you decide that UK is your relocation destination?
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm from India. And as you rightly mentioned, I moved from Qatar because that's where I was working for close to 10 years before moving here. I'm a chartered accountant by profession and have been in the banking and finance field for close to 30 years now. So what prompted the move? Basically, my children, the elder children, they moved west to Canada.
Yeah.
And they are studying or were studying in universities there. My parents, my in-laws back home in India. And we wanted a place where, it's easy for all of us to travel to meet with each other. So although Middle East was very good to move to India to see my parents and my in-laws, but it was not convenient for the children when they were on short breaks to come here. And also professionally to develop myself and get to a country which will eventually give me a passport so that I can settle down. We deliberated long and hard and eventually decided on UK. UK sits in the middle of both where my children are and where our parents are. So it was a good fit. Also in terms of culturally, there's a lot of Indians, there's a lot of family, there's a lot of culture which is similar to back home, so it's slightly easier to settle in. And that's what prompted us to then decide that, yes, UK it is, and we'll take the plunge over here.
Great, thank you very much, Zubair. And my quick question, before you applied for a visa, people do have different worries. For example, some, before approaching, for example, solicitors, lawyers, or agents, they do have some worries whether this is the right, agents or lawyers to assist with the visa. So, did you have any maybe you can talk about your fears before applying, and
Sure.
how did you find us, and how we helped to resolve your the point A where you've been and the success of the visa?
Sure. Yes, obviously, I think when you move countries and when you move with an intention to settle, you want to ensure that the process is as smooth as possible, that legally everything is taken care of. So those worries are real. And I guess everybody who wants to move, this would be the top priority, that you do everything possible to move, and then you don't want to be stuck on a technicality. Let's put it that way. I wanted to ensure that I go with somebody who gives me the right advice, who has a proven track record to get the visas where I want to go, here in this case UK, and who can help me with settling down, help initial fears, because everything is new compared to where we come from. Including the weather, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of challenges obviously coming over here. But you know that you're coming with all those challenges, you're still coming to a place which will hopefully make your life better in terms of the objectives that you have for settling down. So yes, those concerns were very real. Um, I actually happened to see um, an advertisement of Visa Tier on Facebook.
Did you join the webinar or?
No, in fact, I didn't join the webinar, and I saw this probably maybe 6, 8, or even a year before I eventually actually got to Visa Tier. And what actually kind of made me remember when I eventually started to look for the right kind of people to move with was the fact that you said, no success, no fees.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, here's somebody who's so confident of themselves. They must be doing something right. And then eventually, when we got down to saying, okay, we will move to UK, I said, okay, I remember seeing this ad, but I don't know where. So, I was trawling through, and then eventually I got it that, yes, it was Visa Tier. And that's how I got in touch. I didn't attend any webinar, nothing. I just straight away sent an email and said, I'm interested. What can you do for me? And that's when your team and you got in touch.
Mm-hmm.
You did the diagnostic call with me and my wife, and we moved on from there.
Tell me, like you mentioned about the diagnostic session. So, of course, this is part of the steps, like you mentioned, for example, the way that you say that you joined, you found us on Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you joined the webinar, but you haven't been able, but then you further come back and then registered for or left inquiry.
Yes.
For the diagnostic. So how was the diagnostic session? I mean, because the way that diagnostic session is structured is 1 hour Zoom call, and you came with your wife to a Zoom call. During the diagnostic session, was it, have you received how satisfied you were from the diagnostic, and whether the diagnostics structured in a way to really kind of tailor or identify the right solution? So maybe you can give a feedback about the diagnostic sessions itself.
Sure. In fact, even before coming to the diagnostic session, because there's a lot of work that went before the diagnostic session, eventually we came to that.
Yeah.
Because, when you're moving, you want to ensure that you have the right visa, that all the options were explored. That there are no better options, let's say, that we can look for as part of the move, and so that was very helpful. Your team was very helpful to get all of that done, and eventually, of course, on the diagnostics session, we discussed a few options, and then eventually, I remember you saying that the skilled worker visa is probably the best for you, and because I meet all the criteria, and it would be the best to use that route to come to the UK. So yes, it was very helpful. Not only the diagnostic session, but even all the work that went before that, because all the information gathering and all happened much before, and a lot of question answers, a lot of calls with your teams to understand my situation and what is it that I was looking for and what are the best options. So yes, and then of course the diagnostic session kind of sealed the deal, and then we moved on from there.
Okay. And the reason that you invited your wife to the diagnostic session, whether you considered like the option of putting yourself as the main applicant or your wife to be the main applicant, maybe you can brief about these, because obviously the reason I'm asking this, during the diagnostic session, we do consider a number of options. We look into the plan A, plan B, plan C. Sometimes, like you said, if it's one visa it doesn't suit, for example, let's say, the initial options, we need to go through the eligibility, assess the eligibility, and once the eligibility, based on the qualification and experience, we then tailor the right visa solution. And in your case, I believe we also discussed the option where your wife can be the main applicant and you
That's
become
correct.
dependent.
Correct.
Because dependents have number of benefits, as you may know, flexibility and right to work. So, and why, for example, what do you think about the, why didn't you become dependent, for example, or why do you decide to be the main applicant?
Yeah. So yes, we went through all that, and my as you rightly said, my wife is also a graduate. She's a bachelor's in in commerce with an accounting background as well.
Yeah.
So obviously she could very easily fit into the main applicant role if she thought that if we thought that that was the right option to go through. But eventually, I think we discussed that I can go with that option, and she would be then the dependent, and she would be free to do her choice of options that she including doing further studies like masters
Yeah.
and so on. So she was still undecided as to whether she wanted to work or she wanted to study further.
Yeah.
So we said best that I remain the main applicant and she becomes the dependent, because she then has the flexibility to do what she wants to do in the near term and not be held by the main applicant visa, which
She has a right.
she had to work. She won't then be
She
able to.
has the right to work
Yeah,
visa now,
exactly.
right? Does she? How? Tell me about how your family feels now. Like since you've been in the UK, how is your wife happy in terms of decision? Was it the right decision to move to the UK? And what's your family's feedback?
Absolutely, I think we are all very happy with the decision. Obviously, parents slightly unhappy because we are further away than we were only a 3-hour flight away. Now we are a 9-hour flight away. But yeah, I think it's worked for what we intended as a family. That's worked very well for us. Also, I think it is important for people to know that it's moving into UK, and I've moved countries and cities, but moving into UK, well, it is difficult. It's not very easy, because back home and in India, I'm sure it could be the same for Asia or Middle East or Africa.
Yeah.
You have a lot of help, not only family but professional help also for setting up things for you.
Yeah.
And it works because that's the culture there. But here, you have to do everything, set up everything yourself. And so that was a challenge. But having gone through all of that, we feel very happy, very satisfied that we have done the right thing by doing that. Felt very happy because, we are now into the thick of things. We understand what we need to do over here. And, life has its challenges, as it would somewhere else as well.
Yeah.
You just have to know what those are and accept that and move on.
Yeah. And what, for example, since you got a visa, since you arrived to the UK, by the way, how long it took you to take a visa?
So the process would have taken probably only 3 months.
Yes.
But I think there was a slight delay from my side, and that's why it took probably closer to 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah. So that's what it took. But I think your team was very good. Sales, the lawyers, yourself. I think everybody whom we got in touch with, extremely helpful. They were very accommodating. And I was very pleased that I went through Visatir to get my visa.
About our services, you mentioned about services during process. What actually makes us different? What do you think? What actually makes us different from other firms, in your opinion?
Okay, so I can't talk much about the other firms, but I'll tell you what makes me happy. Obviously, the big thing that was the hook was the
no win, no fee.
No win, no fee. That's brilliant. And that showed that you had a level of trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And that your processes were very good. That when you eventually tell a candidate that, yes, we can, that more often than not, you would deliver. And I believe your 100% record still continues.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's brilliant. So that's very important, I think. And to back that, back the words, you had the team who were very helpful, who were very knowledgeable, very accommodating, as I said, and they were willing to, go out of the way to kind of even
Extra
assist
mile.
with. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That's the whole feeling I got dealing with any member of the team, be it the sales team or the lawyers or the back office staff who are actually processing the work. Yes, you will have your pluses and minuses. We all human out there. As I said, that the process took slightly longer because of me rather than because of you. So, but it was brilliant. As time went on, I was very relaxed, as relaxed can be. Obviously, you still have that thing in your head that will you get the visa or not? That till you get it, you get it. You don't, rather. So, you're worried about that. But otherwise, the process was very well handled, very professionally done, good advice in terms of timing. Everything was brilliant.
Brilliant. Okay. Let's just go to the day when you got a visa. So you talked like it took you some time, right? And then you, what's the day of announcement? How did you get that message, and what sort of, maybe you talk about the way, how did you feel? Like, what was your first expression? Maybe a family's expression.
So I think we got an email from your team saying that, your passport is ready for collection.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that means you've got it.
Yeah.
But unless and until you get the passport in your hand and see for yourself that the visa is stamped, and for each one of us, seeing is believing, as they say. Yeah. So, it was. I think the first thought was more relief than happiness. Yeah. The happiness kicked in later.
Yeah.
And obviously the entire planning, of course you had planned for the move, but it doesn't kick until you actually see the visa.
Yeah.
So, all that came into motion and so on and so forth. Yeah, that is what it was.
How was your family's reaction?
Oh, brilliant. Same. Absolutely. I think I'm talking for all of us when we say this. Yeah.
Great. Now, so of course, it's not an easy decision. Relocating is not an easy decision. So you're originally from India, right?
That's right.
And you have been living in Qatar. You had a very good lifestyle in Qatar.
True.
Good, you have job, banking, finance. You have excellent CV, earning potential, taxes. By the way, in Qatar, you may have tax benefits as well. So, of course, when you have that lifestyle where you get used and your family get used to, relocating to a new country like UK is not an easy decision. So
absolutely,
maybe you can talk about the challenges that you faced. Like you got a visa. What's next? What are the main challenges that, for example, you mentioned about the cultural, sometimes there could be even culture shock, for example, it's a new country, you come to the UK, did you feel excited? Did you feel worried? Did you feel like there was a fear? What was that sort of emotions? Or there was a mixture?
There was a mixture of a lot of emotions. Of course, excited. I'm not sure what to expect. So, there is a lot of emotions, but it was the decision was made with eyes wide open. So we knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
But still, obviously, when you come here, when you go through the process here, and then you see for yourself what it is like to be in a new country. There's always excitement. There's having moved a lot of cities and countries. That there's always an excitement, there's always problems, there's always solution finding, and so on and so forth. And things that work very easily, things which you worried about, things that you didn't even think would be a problem would become a problem, and so on and so forth. So those things will remain the same, but we knew that we are going from a particular lifestyle to a very different lifestyle. And as stark as, seeing the sunshine every day of the year to not seeing the sunshine every day of the year and everything in between. So we knew what we were getting in, but we knew what we were getting into for. So we knew the taxes and all that. But we had fair bit of challenges on our way.
Yeah.
And, if everything was very plain and simple and you could plan everything and it works to the plan, it would be boring. So there would be challenges. How you overcome those challenges is part and parcel of your life, part of the life that you have being part of the new place.
Yeah.
That's what makes you attached to the roots more.
Yeah.
If everywhere was the same, I guess you wouldn't, between A and B there would be no difference. You wouldn't be thinking so much about
Yeah.
place A versus place B if it
Yeah.
was not so different.
In terms of finding accommodation, I think sometimes people, when you're getting a visa is one step, right? Then you have the next post visa. Let's talk about the post visa support now. Like you got a visa, and then what was the post visa support that you received from us? And was it helpful? And have we addressed any, or have we assisted with any challenging situations? Like, for example, if you face any challenging situations, maybe you can talk through.
Yeah. So basically, once you get the visa, then you're thinking of accommodation is the big thing. We have a young son, 9
How
years
old is
old.
he?
9 years old.
9 years old.
So
And your two children are in Canada, right?
in Canada, that's right.
Two elder ones. Yeah.
The elder ones. Yeah. So obviously, schooling was a big thing for us, and accommodation. So we wanted to be in a place where we would be close to London for me, so that I could travel for work. At the same time, so we were not looking London per se because of how expensive London was. But we said, okay, any of the commuter towns would be easy, because that would be the thinking was that it would be easy to settle in. And that's where all the support also came in from you and your team, where we talked about various, north, south, east, west, where, and we had some cities or towns that we were looking at. You gave us some more options to look at. And that's how we build the whole thing. So a lot of this planning went in before we came in here. And when we came in here, then we quickly could hit the ground running to say, okay, this is where we were going to look at.
Yeah.
And, what do we need to do to look at houses and so on. So that all that help was pretty good. The advice of get the address, get the bank open, look at schools. So, because then we realized that without the address, we could not do the bank account, we could not do the schools.
Address is the main
address
thing.
is the main
it
thing.
starts from the address.
Exactly. So
and everything builds
around that. So yeah, that that advice really helped, because you don't think about these things when you are moving some of the countries, because you just think, you go in and then you can quickly get into a school and you can open your bank account and then move in.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realize you can't do all of that without moving into a house first and getting the address, because that's what is the process in UK.
Yeah.
So, all that, because that's the part of the help that, your team would provide, as we would talk through all the processes and stuff that we need to be thinking of. You had this sheet.
Welcome pack.
Yeah. Which was
the welcome pack. Was it helpful?
It was helpful because
just a brief to our audience, what is the welcome pack? It's maybe you can also list out. So the welcome pack is tailored pack for after visa.
Yes.
That's our clients receive after visa support. So it actually covers a number of questions, like how to, like you say, how to register for schooling, how to get accommodation, how to get a driving license, how to register for your e-visa. Nowadays, like biometrics are e-visas, how to register with GP, and if you want to go for private, how to get a private schools, etc. So it's like a really, was it helpful, the pack itself?
Yes. It's not just the pack, but, the fact that you could talk with or email you or, the team who was dealing with us, that also actually helps, because, you can read only so much, right? As you're thinking of so many things, planning about a lot of things, the last thing you want to do is sit and read a pack. But yes, you can then specifically look into, I need to see this portion. And that's actually very helpful.
In terms of the, some companies, when they get the visa, the work stops there. And the way we work, and I hope you agree, I think what you mentioned is that the post-visa support is a key and vital in our service, because like you said, your ultimate goal is not just getting a visa, right?
True.
So the ultimate goal is to get
Settlement.
settlement,
Yeah.
ILR, citizenship, passport, British
True.
passport. So, and for us, it's important to support client all the way until you get to that ILR,
Yeah.
settlement status, citizenship. So, have you been receiving that support so far? And is that something, because comparing to our other companies, other firms, they get you the visa, they say bye to you. But the way we work, I hope you agree, maybe you can brief about, welcome to the UK. We're here with you for 5 years and beyond.
Correct. That is very true, Muzaffar. And a lot of that is, part of the front-ending process when you get the visa.
Yeah.
So between getting the visa and moving to UK, a lot of that support comes in. And of course, even post moving into UK, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of help because we can call up people and ask them questions or text them, and they are willing to help, which is very, very helpful. It just settles down. But eventually, the challenges are your challenges.
Yeah.
You have to overcome them. However much advice, support that you provide, you have to go through that process. And that's part of life.
Part of relocation.
Relocation,
Yeah,
exactly.
in any country,
In any
or
country.
any movement
Absolutely.
that you do. Okay, great. And in terms of the location, you mentioned about London. That was your ultimate, initial choice. Do you live in London?
No, I live in Milton
And why
Keynes.
did you choose Milton Keynes?
So, we were looking at towns around London, towns in Surrey, also to the west, Slough, Reading, and also Milton Keynes. These are all good places. We saw many more places, of course, and I'll not bore you with the details, but eventually we just like Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
It just was right. It was not the first place we...
Location-wise, sorry for interruption, location-wise, is whoever knows, if you haven't heard about Milton Keynes, it's actually very conveniently located to London because it's, how long, 45 minutes?
It's a 45 minutes by a fast train, by an hour, 10 minutes by the slower train.
That's perfect. That's and if people, in terms of commuting to London, it's a perfect
into central
location.
London, straight away.
And you mentioned about schools as well. So one of the reasons that you choose Milton Keynes, also, obviously, whichever the location. The good thing about the UK, by the way,
absolutely,
whichever the location you choose, you have
good schools,
great schools. British curriculum, British education.
Yeah.
So, do you like Milton Keynes?
Absolutely.
And maybe you can. What else? You would like to comment about the location that you've decided to choose.
So. Look, coming from large cities and having stayed in large cities all the time, one of the charms of being in UK is the lovely countryside of UK. And Milton Keynes, actually, where we are staying, it's very beautiful that way.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of these very quaint places all around Buckinghamshire and Hertfordshire. It's very nice to be there. It's very different from anywhere because, as I mentioned, I've stayed in large cities. So these are all concrete jungles that I've stayed in. And to be part of the greenery around you is quite refreshing. It's very nice. And you have everything that you need for the family.
Yeah.
And for you commuting, I think an hour's commute by train is pretty normal anywhere that I have stayed in. Yeah.
Anything within a 1 hour commuting distance is perfect for London.
Yeah.
Great. Do you drive, by the way?
Absolutely. I've got my driving license as well.
How was it? Was it challenging to move from the the left, right to right driving?
Actually, in India, it's the same driving. So
you
I was used to both the sides of driving.
Yeah.
But what came as, and although I was warned about the process of the driving license taking time, but you really don't appreciate it till you actually come here and you say, whoa, it takes a very long time to get a driving license.
Yeah.
And it's all over in the news as well. So there's a lot of steps that the authorities are taking to ease the process, but it is a challenge to get a driving license. But I've got it, so alhamdulillah, it's very nice. Yeah.
regarding the impact, like this move, relocation move, now you're in the UK. How long you been in the UK now?
Little over a year now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and during this year, I believe you're more settled.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Definitely.
the first initial challenges in terms of finding the location, etc., it's all settled. It's
Absolutely.
different. So, what impact this relocation move made to you and to your family?
So, Muzaffar, I think, whatever we anticipated, I think it's in line with that. We are very clear about the end goal that we want to achieve. So we're moving towards that. And to that extent, can't complain because it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
As I said very earlier, we decided with our eyes open. So we knew what we were getting into
Yeah.
or what we want to get into. So to that extent, we just take it as part of the process, part of life, part of the relocation, whatever challenges. But now being here for 1 year, we've gone through the entire cycle of all the four weather systems. So we could see we've been through all of that. We understand that now much better, and appreciate the sun more than what we would be when we were back home. So yeah, but nothing is so like a showstopper.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. Travel for my children from Canada is much easier. So it's very easy for them to come here, just one flight away rather than very long changeovers from where they were to come into where we were. So yeah, a lot of positives.
And what do you really like about the UK? Let's talk about the UK. You mentioned some of the, the weather,
Yep.
the cultural. What do you most enjoy about living in the UK? Let's talk about the also, maybe what do you enjoy and what's your family enjoy? You mentioned number of things already.
Yes.
I also like maybe what are three most things that perhaps you and your family enjoy about living in the UK?
So I think we had a few things that we wanted to be very clear about, and I think to that extent we are very happy with that. First is the schooling. So my son goes to a good school. We are very happy with that. The second is obviously the location, as I mentioned, the countryside, and 5 minutes drive from my house, and we are into the countryside, depending on which side we go to, and it's very beautiful. So driving around is really fantastic. UK is very multicultural, so is Milton Keynes. So you get to see a lot of different cultures, different attitudes. It's very nice because it teaches you, for my son, for example, to know a lot more about a lot of different cultures. It's very, very, very nice for him because he then understands a lot more about differences and how people are still same with those differences.
Yeah.
So to that extent, it's very good. Being part of UK and eventually getting into settlement, that's what we are here for. So we are looking forward to that. That's for sure. Also, being over here, we suddenly realized that there's a lot more. Although there's a lot more cultures, you can also find niches where you can get and look into your own culture, your own people, your own food, for example. And although it's the same, it is still different because of the uniqueness of where it's coming from. Ingredients are different, absolutely. So it's very exciting. We are slowly getting around to what we like, what we don't like, and that's all, as I said, part of the process of relocating.
Yeah. How important is the British citizenship for you?
Oh, very important, because as I've said, I've moved a lot of countries, but none of the countries were offering a citizenship, primarily in the Middle East, that is. So all work related. So to eventually then go back home. For me and my wife, it's not a problem because we know what we
Go back home to Qatar,
to India.
Yeah, because you live in Qatar, but you.
But we've grown up in India.
Yes,
We've done our
yes.
schooling and university in India. But my children have all grown up in the Middle East, so they don't know India, and they look at India very differently from how I would look at India or my wife would look at India. So and now that they are in universities in Canada, we had to go to a place where it was easier for us to meet our children to meet us.
Yeah.
So to that extent, getting the UK citizenship is very important. That's what we've come here for, and that gives us access to the children who are in Canada, for them also to come to UK. And of course, we can take care of parents as well. Not as easily as we would have done when we were back in the Middle East, but still, it's still good enough. So I think moving so many countries and not being able to get the passport was one of the things that was there in the mind. So
Qatar, especially because Qatar doesn't give
all the Middle East does not give the citizenship. So we said, we will move to countries where we will get the citizenship, because you spend so much of time. Like I spent over 10 years in Qatar, and then to go back to India, that itself would be a challenge. So we said, if we have a choice to stay in the country where we are, we would like to exercise that. To move back to India, we could always do that.
Great. So you mentioned about the British passport, the importance of a British passport, citizenship, and you mentioned about Qatar, having great lifestyle, great life in Qatar, plus, but because it doesn't also give opportunity to become a citizen, you need to have a plan B. Sometimes people doesn't want to go back to their home countries for many reasons, because of the career opportunities, business opportunities. It could be other reasons like schools for kids, or could be job opportunities for like family members. So, and we know, like you mentioned, the British passport is one of the main goals as well to achieve, because obviously it's one of the powerful passports in the world.
Absolutely.
It gives access visa-free to more than 190 countries now, and gives the mobility as an entrepreneur for in terms of business. It gives you the mobility, but also you mentioned about location. It's a location of UK is really hub to Europe, we can call it. People, we have so many clients from, for example, from West Africa, South Asia. They choose UK because of the time zone.
True.
Also currency stability, because what's happening with in other countries and emerging markets, that the currency instability or devaluation of the currencies, but the UK pound, British pound has always been stable. Value, like fluctuation happens, but then it's one of the strongest currencies in the world. English language. Some countries, we have clients. They say, I want to go to UK, but I'm also thinking about Portugal or Germany. But then if I go to Portugal and Germany, I need to learn, local language. But the English is, obviously is another reason. English language. UK is a hub for innovation, welcomes innovative business ideas. If you want to do business, it's a great place to do business. So, in terms of the goal of British citizenship, like you mentioned, so would you like to add anything else in terms of getting to that point B? How important and why it's so important for you?
No, I think you've made all the relevant points. The only point I will add is also that London is a financial center, a powerful financial center. And for my profession, from what work I've done, it's very relevant. So that's also one of the deciding factors. Because being part of a financial hub is extremely important for the kind of work that I do. So all the pieces fall in place. Some will be better, some will not be as bad. But that's part of every relocation, and I've moved enough to know that what is it. But as long as your key focus remains, you're fine.
Great. Now, thank you for sharing your goals and the how the services we provide to achieve that successful visa for you. In terms of, my question would be, would you recommend us to others?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. I would. No two ways about that. And with all the experience that you're gaining, you and your team are keeping up to speed with all the changes, informing your clients. I know you do webinars practically every week, and a lot of them just providing the information about changes that are going to come.
Yeah.
Awareness, yes. And relocation is always difficult. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah.
So whatever you do to make it easier for your clients is really fantastic. And I have no hesitation in recommending you for using your services for those people who want to relocate or who are interested in finding out more, because sometimes it's just starting with a query that you can build on and then eventually getting in. And to that extent, if there's any help that anybody wants from me, I'm happy to provide that as well, because I'm happy to share my experience and help people on a one-to-one basis for information that they would need. Because that, I think, as a relocatee, I would say that that's something that anybody who's intending to relocate would look to, because I can share their concerns. I understand what that is and what it means. So I could help with that as well.
To our audience listening us today, who are thinking whether to decide, not to decide, whether go for, Visatir or whether other company, what recommendation would you give to people who are hesitating currently or thinking like, okay, whether I need to go with Visatir or whether I need to go with other company?
Yeah, the hesitation is real, and the fears are real, absolutely. And it is very important to get with a partner who's going to assist you, help you all the way. I can't talk about other firms because I haven't used them.
Maybe just a recommendation, advice that you give to our audience.
I would say use Visatir. From my experience, it has been really good. It has helped me. I think you kept to your word. Whatever you've told me you would do, you've done that. I'm here in the UK. Yeah. I'm happy. So what more proof that you need? From me, at least.
Thank you. Right. Thank you very much, Zubair, for coming and sharing your experience. I believe our audience have received invaluable, really insightful information today from today's podcast. Thank you for sharing about your fears that you had. Thanks for also explaining us like the emotions your family gone through, and then the success or the outcome that we achieved from our services. So, and for anyone who are thinking about the relocation to the UK, you could hear from Zubair's success stories. So we're here to support you. I'd like to summarize that with the big thank you for sharing your experience, and look forward to working with you, Zubair.
Sure, welcome, Muzaffar. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you.